what we learned in the class revolutionized how I thought about the world.
Although cylinder seals have been say actively studied for over 100 years, no one has ever had the chance to look at them this way before.
No academic community that I know of has applied technology of this level to review a seal.
With digital, we are able to distribute our images in a way that we never could with film.
We learned that they were used almost as a signature in the time, that whenever you received a document or made a purchase, or if you were validating a transaction, you rolled your seal over it, which just signified and authenticated that you were there when it happened and that it's a genuine transaction. So it's basically like a signature of that time.
They were used in the part of the world, Mesopotamia, where they used clay tablets to write on. And the cylinder would have some kind of decoration on it, sometimes writing, and it would be rolled across the clay tablet as verification of a particular economic transaction.
Each student in the general education class was given a cylinder seal and was told, go and relate this cylinder seal to the world and to other cylinder seals, including both cylinder seals in the collection and also cylinder seals in general.
Well, first we were assigned our seals, and we looked at the iconography on the seal and tried to find similar art designs and motifs on other seals or artwork from that time period. And what we were trying to do is to prove that it was made in the time period that had been hypothesized and what it could have been used for.
So basically there was a student who had sort of mapped out the iconography of the seal.
It had a supplying goddess, which just means somebody submitting, a goddess submitting herself, in humble praise or worship, and she was facing another figure who I believed was a king of some sort. So it would seem like the owner was kind of portraying himself as this king-like figure, even though he probably wasn't anything like that.
She actually spent the afternoon here photographing with Marilyn Lundberg, and all of a sudden this face peeped out at her. Do you see? This actually changed how she interpreted the seal, because she's very interested in the placement of animals and what the sort of broader picture of the design might connote.
Where our students are using archaeological artifacts to illustrate the ancient world, and since that requires a lot of visualization, it always seemed natural to us to have visual aspects of it, so we build websites and things like that.
There's another student who has a figure in her seal that's upside down, and she's tried to figure out whether that means this is a figure from another realm, whether it's a person who's sick, whether it's an ancestor. So it is of identical size to all the other figures in the seal, but it's upside down. Another student is working on a problem that is long overdue to be worked on, which is the proportion of seals within particular collections that have inscriptions in them.
What we're using is an adaptation of panoramic photography. A panoramic camera typically is a camera that you place on a pedestal, and the pedestal rotates, and as it rotates, the camera pans the entire 360-degree view, and you see that as a single continuous picture. Our thought was, well, let's not do that. Let's leave the camera stationary, and we'll put a cylinder seal on this pedestal, and we'll turn the cylinder seal and look at the picture of that as it turns, and that's what we did.
A number of years ago, we went up to Hewlett-Packard to talk about what kind of equipment would we need to put our database online and get good performance. And they said, well, would you mind giving a talk at our imaging labs? So we went out to their imaging labs and showed a slideshow of the kinds of things that we do. And a man named Tom Mulsbender came up to us afterwards, and he said, I have something I think would be very useful to you.
Polynomial texture mapping, or to put it more succinctly, PTM imagery. And it's really quite interesting. What you do is you have a dome, which you may have seen pictures of or looked at it. It's like a big upside-down terrarium, and on this are placed lights at various heights and positions, and then right at the top there's a digital camera. As the digital camera takes a picture, you shoot off different lights so that you look at a given object from various lighting perspectives. Call it as many as 32. Then, using a software algorithm that was developed originally by Hewlett-Packard Labs, you turn this into a single composite picture. And when that picture comes up, you can use a cursor to virtually move the light and look at it from any light angle and look at the relief patterns from this angle or from that angle or from any angle you want.
Well, the technologies are revolutionary in and of themselves, but they're revolutionary with respect to how they are used here. That is to say, people could use better light technology to photograph a vase in a museum and get, let's say the vase is painted, to get a good understanding of 360-degree views of this particular vase. But to use it in this particular way is very different, because it also enables you to appreciate the depth of the carving of the object. And no academic community that I know of has applied technology of this level to review a seal.
The normal way of studying a cylinder seal is to take some kind of modern clay, Sculpey, for example, and make a modern seal impression with it, just as they would have in the ancient world. Then people will photograph that, and they'll study the seal impression.
But it's not so easy to look at the little things, and these little things actually, have as much art and culture content in them as anything else does. So you're simply adding more to the bigger picture of how these things were done. Besides, they're just plain pretty. They're interesting. You say, what are these? How did they do these? It's interesting to learn about both the culture and the artisan and the individual.
If it means that students who are usually just interested in technology all of a sudden gain an interest in the ancient world, that's very exciting. If it means that students of the ancient world all of a sudden realize how important it is to use modern tools to best reclaim the ancient world, that's important.
Like a change in that. See, she figured that the impression